What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Power Zone. My name is Brad, and it is going to be a light day, sort of, as far as earnings reactions are concerned. Now, look, I obviously know that Palantir is going to be reporting today. We're going to get into what to expect with Palantir's earnings, but there's also NXP Semiconductors that are reporting, and then Simon Property Group also reporting. So a bit of a light day, but I will say it's going to be a really exciting week. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for when we go live this afternoon in the afternoons to react to these earnings. Look, tomorrow there's Snap, Enphase, Ford, Chipotle, Fortinet. This is look, we covered the big dogs last week, right? The big tech stocks like Apple and Meta and Microsoft, but there is a flurry of stocks to react to, and so that's just tomorrow. That'll be Snap, Enphase, Ford, Chipotle, Fortinet. Wednesday, it's PayPal, Disney, ARM, Wynn Resorts, Mattel, and those are just the afternoon ones. I also would like to react to the morning ones in the afternoon if we can, because Wednesday morning it'll be Alibaba, Uber, CVS, Roblox, XPO Logistics. There's so many stocks that are reporting this week. And then Thursday, ConocoPhillips, Hershey's also be in the morning there, Aurora Cannabis. Then in the afternoon on Thursday, which again, I'm also pumped for, we have Affirm, Pinterest, Cloudflare, Expedia, Take Two. Friday morning, even there's Pepsi, Canopy Growth. So there's just so much that's going to be happening to this week in the stock market that I'm super pumped to react to all of this stuff. Don says Palantir is the only important one. I did text you, Don. Did you text me back? I wasn't sure if you're popping on here. Okay, I got the message. Got the message. Don did say though he's going to do a video later because it is in the growth account if you guys have been following along with him. So stay tuned for that as well. So obviously I'm live right now, going to react to Palantir's earnings in real time. And then Don will kind of give the aftermath later on this evening. I believe that's 7 p.m. Eastern time, if I'm not mistaken. Don will correct me down here in the chat, I'm sure. But it is Don will not be here. So if you guys are watching over on Don's channel, you'll probably notice that I am not Don. If you haven't heard the news, Don and I are merging. So what's happening right now is that we're actually going to be we're going to be simulcasting from both channels for now, and then eventually move everything over to this specific channel. I'm trying to get out of the habit of saying my channel because it's our channel, but it's really hard when it's all you've known for the last 7-8 years. But it'll be our channel over at the Power Zone. So come on over to the Power Zone. This is going to be the channel where we're both going to live. We're going to be under one roof. And so we figured we'd give you guys the opportunity to at least tune in on Don's channel for now until we kind of get everybody congregated over here. But before we get started, and I just wanted to welcome some folks. Duke, see some familiar faces here. Fernando, Josh Rohn, Savvy Money Show. I see you, Lord Fenrir, Eldon, Rudy. Man, like all of my OGs tuning in today. Kevin Hawthorne, Z Writer. Good to see you guys. What up, Mike Hudson? I see you, my man. We got to catch up, brother. Boogaloo Brown. Yeah, like I said, all my OGs. Cody, is it Deslock? Cody Deslock. I've been Lord Fenrir says been riding good with my long term on Rumble. Rumble's been awesome. Been in one bed, might as well get the roof. I like that. Shock City Rocker and Michael Hanna also here. Good to see you guys too. But okay, so we have Palantir. Obviously, they're going to be reporting earnings today. Let's go ahead and pull up the chart. Here's your daily chart here. Just a second. Boom. There we go. That's your daily chart on Palantir. So really interesting upward trend here. It looks great. The stock itself has looked great for quite some time here, really since the middle of the summer last year. We could start in May. I guess you could make the argument of like a real bottom for this one, and it has done really well. If you are a Palantir investor, you got to be happy with this on how it's been performing. And I'm not saying that there isn't more room for this to go higher, because it can, it's obviously well off of its all-time highs. And so there is potential for this to continue to move to the upside. I know there's a lot of people that are bullish on this, but I would like to point out that this is also trading at 68 times next year's earnings. So super expensive. And it's not that I don't shy away from that as long as there's other things that make sense as to why the stock's up here, right? So we'll call it 69 at 68.91 times next year's earnings. Pause. 69 times. Pause. It's a $37 billion uh, market cap on this as well. So whenever I see that, the next thing I'm going to look at when I look at a valuation that high is growth. Does the growth justify um, a lofty valuation? Because oftentimes, the people are buying a stock for future expectations. Revenue growth here, though, isn't, in my opinion, enough growth to justify a 69 multiple. 16% year over year growth. Revenue growth forward is expected around 19.9%. Still not really something that I would say I'm super excited about. And look, I'm not saying, again, that Palantir isn't something that you should, or that it is something you should avoid. But I think that we're getting to a point to where I would make the argument that the risk, if you're buying it here, may not be worth the reward. So that's my thought process around Palantir. And so, I mean, we compare it to something. I'm just kind of doing a blind comparison here. What's CrowdStrike at? CrowdStrike's at 102 times next year's earnings. Jesus Christ, that thing just continues to go up. This might be something that I also would probably be hesitant on right now. Not to say that if you own it, keep holding on to it. Okay, this is, yeah. And I don't know if it's not really a fair comparison, but I'm just going from a fundamental comparison, right? So 100 times next year's earnings is where CrowdStrike is trading at. Revenue growth and projected revenue growth are both the same, 40% year on year. 40% year on year is expected growth on that from a fundamental standpoint. So I'm not saying you can't buy Palantir and it can't continue to go up. I'm not saying that it won't go up after these earnings. But what I'm saying is that it's starting to get riskier. And there could be opportunity for a correction that would allow you to buy this. So long term, I think Palantir obviously is going to be a great company to continue to own in the long term. In the short term, I do think, like talking about over the next 6 months to 12 months, could be a bit risky. Over the last year, it's up 86%. So again, not saying that it can't do it, but the chances are of that it's going to continue to go up and up and up where it's at right now are diminishing. So that being said, what are the earnings expectations for this quarter? 8 cents per share, $602.8 million in revenue, 8 upward revisions to 0 down. So the street is also all over this. I will say profitability for Palantir is quite good. 16% not profitability. Yeah, there we go. Clicked on the wrong tab. Sorry about that. Gross profit margins at 80%, which is bananas. That is incredible. And so net income margins at 7%, levered FCF margins at 21. All great stuff. Cash from operations or cash flow is at 489 million. That is also great. So really good stuff from a profitability standpoint. It's just that the valuation versus growth, it just doesn't make me feel great about where it's at. But again, people are all over Palantir, and so I'm not saying that it can't continue to go up, because I do think that it can, but it would not surprise me if we saw some sort of consolidation or some sort of correction. With it trading at $16.39. You can see this is where this is at today. 1750 at the top of that zone. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on these earnings. If they come in and blow everybody away, it's probably going to skyrocket. I would say that if it has the best case scenario on earnings, we could see this get upwards of $19 a share. I think that's certainly very possible, especially looking at this, the top of the zone at 1880. Don has expected move all the way up and upwards of $19.38. If things go bad, expected move could potentially come down here to around the 1478 marker. And so that's kind of where I'm actually looking at. Not necessarily looking at Palantir as a buy all the way up at 1931. I want to see if it does come back down here into this $14-15 range, because then I would absolutely be a buyer. I'll be scooping up Palantir with both hands at those levels. And that's kind of what I'm waiting on, some sort of correction there. So looking at a couple of the reactions here, um, I compare Palantir to Snow, says Michael Hanna. Well, let's make that comparison, because Snowflake is, let's see, their growth, they're growing at 40%, 41% year on year, and their revenue growth forward is at 44%. They're trading at 275 times next year's earnings. Also, absolutely bananas. And I've said this about Snowflake from the beginning, and I know that it's continued to go up, especially since October. It's just had a monster move, and over the last year, it's that's only up 21%. But since October, it's had a monster move. This isn't me saying that you can't invest in these stocks. This isn't me saying that it's not a buy. What I'm saying is that it's getting riskier. The risk is getting is increasing on a lot of these that are trading at crazy valuations. Um, uh, let's see here. Cyber Beast says, "Me too. I haven't bought any yet. Have 30K in Charles Schwab account to drop when it hits the dip." Let's see here. It seems to be consolidation already. Are we talking about the same stock? Abraham Sicilian says, "All right, shorting. I don't know if I would short or go long on Palantir where it's at right now." Um, okay. Palantir probably go to $10 and it will still be expensive. It could be. I don't know. We'll see. If it goes $10, I would, like I said, down to the lower end of that expected move in that $14 range, I'd be buying it with both hands. So we'll see. Options are pricing in a good good move. That's coming from Don. Said either way for sure. Shock City Rocker, I'm still holding 12,750 shares of Palantir at $8.60 average. That is incredible. And I'll see, if I was in Shock City Rocker's position, I just wouldn't be doing anything, right? Just enjoying the ride. And if it has a bad day today, so be it. I'm already up 100%. Who cares? Chances of it coming back down to 860 are very, very low. But trying to take a chance on this before earnings are released, or even after, depending on what the reaction is, super risky. So, anyways, yeah, there's obviously different approaches. If you're in the long-term camp, you probably don't care about what happens in these earnings today. You might take a look at them, see if it's worth making any adjustments, and we'll make those assumptions after these earnings come out. But as I'd mentioned, and we're getting ready to come up on the close, as I mentioned on earnings, the expectations here are 8 cents per share, 602.8 million, and then 8 upward revisions. So the street is hella bullish on this. The only thing that worries me, as I mentioned before, is that valuation. So just keep an eye on that. It is awfully expensive, especially because there is a lot of hype surrounding around expectations on these earnings. So if they don't deliver, watch out. It could get a little bit rocky. It's officially 4:00. Let's go ahead and 4:00 Eastern time. Let's go ahead and get into the 5-minute chart so we can see these this stock react in real time. Now, again, as I'd mentioned, and we'll just keep it on Palantir today, since that's obviously the hot stock that everybody's watching, is the most anticipated earnings. But I did want to highlight that NXP Semiconductors, NXPI is the ticker symbol there. They do have earnings today as well. Earnings are expected for them to come in at $3.64, $3.40 billion, 17 upper revisions to 3 down. This one is going to be interesting just because we've seen a lot of semiconductors already report, and it's been kind of mixed. So I'm not quite sure what to make of NXPI, but I'm interested to see what the earnings look like here. Definitely a wild card for earnings on today. And then also Simon Property Group, that's ticker symbol SPG. Earnings are expected to come in here at $1.84, 4 upward revisions to no down on that one as well. Simon Property Group has had a hell of a comeback since COVID, and it continues to just do extremely well. So I'm just going to continue to keep an eye on this one. It's a REIT stock, so real estate investment trust. So we'll continue to watch this one, but this one's a great dividend stock too. Uh, Interested to see what they're forecasting for 2024 as well. So let's see here. Earnings for Palantir. Looks like those numbers are out. Just kind of watching it right now, and it is a bit all over the place. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can kind of get that reaction. Certainly, right now it's up around 3.6%. It's been a bit uh, crazy on the initial reaction, but as soon as I have those numbers, I will share them with you. Just give me one moment. I'm going to search those up. Okay. Let's see here. What do we have? What do we have? Looks like they came in line on expectations. Let me just double check that. I always want to cross reference. I don't like to take just one source because it always jacks you up. All right, so they came in. Looks like that's the case. 8 cents per share was the estimate of 8 cents quarterly. Let's see. Quarterly revenue 608.4 million versus the 602 that was expected. Those numbers aren't wowing me, especially with the expectations being so high on this. Checking back in on the chart though, the stock's up 4%. So they beat earnings, and as we all know, like guidance is going to be the key here, right? So guidance numbers I'm not seeing just yet. As soon as I have those, I'll be happy to share them with you. Just waiting for the rest of the numbers to kind of start flowing in here. But Palantir comes in line on earnings per share and slight beat on revenue, yet the stock continues to climb. It is up 4% as mentioned. Those preliminary numbers aren't exactly shocking me. As soon as I get the guidance numbers, I'll share those with you as well. But while we wait, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up if you're enjoying the stream so far, I got about 107 here in on the channel. Combined with the simulcast on Don's, we got about 163 of you. So if you guys are watching over on Don's channel, make your way over to the Power Zone. We are going to be under one roof. Hit that like button if you guys are also enjoying the stream too. And come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be reacting to all kinds of stuff. Snap, Enphase, Ford, Chipotle, Fortinet also reporting tomorrow. So there's big day tomorrow that I can't wait to react to a lot of other stuff that's happening here. Okay. Palantir is moving up, says somebody. Montegoya, what's up, my man? It is, but I like, and now we're back to flat. So again, this isn't something that's knocking my socks off here, guys. It's up 2%. I feel like there's a lot of hype surrounded around these earnings, and it doesn't seem as if the reaction's getting that same hype. Giving her a little refresh and see if we got any more updated numbers. So again, if you guys missed the initial numbers, they came in line on expectations. Palantir came in at 8 cents versus the 8-cent expectation. They came in about $5 million above expected revenue, 608 versus the 603. That makes it good for, I believe, 20%. Kind of in line with what we were talking about before the market close, about 20% increase in revenue year on year. But that was what we expected to happen. There's got to be something else in there for this thing to go bananas. And it looks like it's trying to jump here. Now up another 5.25. What else is in this report here? So as mentioned, about 20% increase in revenue year on year, which is great. That's definitely something you want to see for a company that's valued at 69 times next year's earnings. So just to reiterate, Palantir met expectations on earnings per share. Sales came in on a slight beat, 608 million versus the 603 that was expected. Um, Still trying to find these guidance numbers. They are being evasive. And now the big boom here. So we got Palantir coming up to the top of this zone and moving up, trying to move above it here. So moved over that $18.12 resistance there at the bottom of that zone and still trying to move in the middle here. Wow, what the hell's going on? See a couple of Chegg is down 10%. People still trading Chegg. People still trading. But anyways, guys, yeah, a crazy reaction here to Palantir's earnings. I'm just trying to find what else, what other info is providing some motivation here for the buyers to come in, because the earnings numbers really aren't all that impressive. What else is getting people excited about this? Haven't really found that catalyst just yet. If you guys are just tuning in, Palantir came in with 8 cents per share. That was what was expected from the street. They came in at 608.4 million in revenue. The expectation was 603, so a beat on revenue, slightly about 5 million bucks higher than expectations. Q4 adjusted EBITDA 217.3 versus 194.8 that was expected. So good stuff there. You see Q1, here's your guidance. Q1 612 to 616, also below expectations for Q1. I'm really confused. This is a head scratcher here. As they see Q1 revenue 612 to 616. The estimate from the street on guidance for Q1 was 617. So that's, not crazy, but it still is a miss from the 617 that was expected. A bit of a head scratcher here for me. They see 2024 revenues 2.65 billion to 2.67 versus the 2.66 that was expected. So in line there too. Somebody help me out. Am I missing something here? Don always with the sarcasm. But man, like I'm trying to figure out. Michael Hanna says guidance higher. That's actually not the case. The guidance came in line. Oh my God, Danny says, don't worry, but market open chart will be unchanged. What? Yeah. So if you guys are just tuning in, Palantir is taking off. It's up 11%. And I really can't give you a good explanation as to why. I really can't. But this is what we said. I told you that I'm not ruling out any sort of possibility of a move up, but I was very hesitant as far as trading something like this because of the risk that's involved. Because before the close, Palantir is at 69 times next year's earnings. And so far, what I'm seeing on these earnings reports, there isn't anything that is that I'm like super pumped about yet. I mean, it's still early. There could be something here that I'm missing, and there very well could be. But the initial numbers, they came in at 8 cents per share. Revenue of 608.35 million. They beat by 5.5 on revenue expectations. That's good for a 19.6 year over year revenue increase, which is what we saw last year, and that was kind of what we were expecting in this quarter. So no real big shocker there. Their guidance also came in actually missing for the first quarter, but for 2024 guidance, it was in line. Also, not really something that would blow anybody's doors off as far as that's concerned. If this was any other stock, I gotta believe this is any other stock other than Palantir, the reaction so far from what I'm seeing would not be like this. But again, I've been surprised before. Government revenue grew 11% year over year and 5% quarter over quarter to 324 million. So still a huge part of their business. Customer count grew 35% year on year. That's great news. Just adjusted income from operations of 209 million, representing a margin of 34%. Cash from operations of 301 million, representing a 50% margin. Adjusted free cash flow of 305 million, representing 50% margin. Cash and cash equivalents and short-term treasury securities of 3.7 billion. And as I'd mentioned earlier, Q1 outlook revenue between 612 to 616 million. The expectation there, from what I'm seeing, was 617. So a miss on Q1 guidance. Adjusted income from operations are expected to be a 196 to 200 million. 2024 outlook here, again, coming in line with expectations. The revenue is expected to be 2.65 to 2.66 billion dollars, and so not really any shock there either. U.S. commercial revenue in excess of 640 million, representing a growth rate of at least 40%, and maybe that's what's getting people to buy, because of the heavy emphasis on government. The government contracts takes up a huge part of their business, and this 40% growth on the commercial side, great number. That could very well be why the stock's moving up, but 12% seems a bit excessive for this. Adjusted income from operations of 834 to 850 million. Adjusted free cash flow of 800 to $1 billion for the year. GAAP operating income in each quarter of this year. GAAP net income in each quarter of this year, and then shares, as I'd mentioned, are up now about 12%. Give me your thoughts on this, guys. I'm trying to figure out, like, is it the commercial side that's what's getting people excited here? I think that this looks as if right now, at least the way the stock's reacting, that the top is in, at least in the short term. We're on the 5-minute chart here, so if you're looking to make a quick trade on this, it looks as if we're getting there. Seeing some resistance at the top of the zone, as you guys can see it, around 1875. So right here, just 1875, 1880 mark is going to be that resistance. Palantir is going to have to get over that hump in order to keep trucking. And of course, it's very early. Earnings have only been out for about 10 minutes, so this is just the initial reaction. We have the conference call to go as well, and we've seen plenty of different types of reactions after the conference call as well. Lord Fenrir says, short that shit. I mean, I feel like it might not be a bad idea, at least in the short term. Z Rider says setting for a nice short play tomorrow. Yeah, it is. Cody says it's the zone. We were at one. Yeah, a Z Rider is planning on going short here. It's actually moving now above that zone. Just broke through that resistance. So next stop, I would say could potentially be this expected move. The top of this expected move at 1936. That's the next stop for this thing. So what do you do if you're a longer term Palantir holder, like a Shock City Rocker that we talked about earlier, and now the stock's up 14%? This is bananas. I can't make sense of that. But if you're a longer term holder, this is a okay earnings. This wouldn't be something that I'd be worried about. I wouldn't be looking to sell here if I was a long term. Somebody had been in at $10 or below. Should feel really good. Obviously, the stock's up, so you can't complain about that. But even so, even if it didn't have this crazy move, I'd still feel good about Palantir, especially in the long term. Nothing to bash there at all. Just right now, I don't understand the move based off of those earnings in particular. Long term, Palantir is great stock. It's something that I would say belongs in everybody's long term portfolio. But to trade this move makes no sense to me. So I'm with you, Z Rider. I would say that if I was a short man, I probably would consider going short on that as well. Dimitri says, might cash in, wait for it to fall and rebuy. You could. I guess it depends on your strategy, Dimitri. If you're just looking to make some short-term trades on this, I would say it makes sense. Just because this doesn't seem sustainable, especially based off of what we're seeing right now, off of those earnings. They weren't bad, but they weren't this good. Palantir could have had great earnings and tanked. Yeah, that's very possible. We've seen that plenty of times. And by all accounts, you come in and you miss on guidance, especially Q1 guidance. Most times the stock would tank. Um, Kind of a surprise that it's not here. You could always sell juiced up calls and keep your shares, says Don. Donald Keys says makes 100% sense to me. Earnings jump zone to zone and near expected move. That's fair. If we're just talking about zones for sure. Um, the move makes sense, especially watching how it traded all day. If you're just making a quick trade on this makes sense, right? You can make sense of that. I'm talking about just the initial reaction on those earnings, because if we compare it to other earnings that come in similar fashion, right? Just in line, not really shocking anybody. Then they come in and miss on guidance. That usually tanks the stock. But because it's Palantir, it's just going to go up. The big question is, are they going to dilute on you guys? For those of you who are trying to trade this, are they going to start diluting? Remember, Palantir has 2 billion shares outstanding. That's a fuck ton. And they still dilute. So Infinitely Finite says they basically reconfirmed the really strong outlook and results from Q3. That's bullish, and that validates the spike in Q3. Um, I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm not sure that it constitutes a 15% move. I appreciate the comment. I'm not buying that. We got about 110 of you guys in the stream this afternoon. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that thumbs up. Overall, between Don and I, we got about 179. So great stuff here. Appreciate you guys. If you guys are watching on Don's channel over there on the Don Franz Show, make your way over to the Power Zone. No, I'm not trying to steal you away from Don. Quite the opposite. We're all trying to live under one roof. So come on over to the Power Zone channel. Don and I are merging, and we chose to get this channel going and all live over here. So if you're watching over there, make your way over to the Power Zone. Would love to have you guys be a part of the journey on this merger. So we're just giving you that opportunity to come on over. So hit that thumbs up. Tomorrow we're going to be reacting to some big earnings. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to this week. This is what gets me excited. When I have to jump around and find a bunch of stocks that are going off or tanking or whatever, it gets me hyped. So I'm just a nerd like that. That being said, tomorrow we have Enphase, Snap, Ford, Chipotle, Fortinet in the morning. And so you'll get my thoughts on the morning earnings as well tomorrow afternoon. But we have Eli Lilly, Spotify, Hertz, BP, Toyota, Spirit Air Systems, Cummins. So there's a ton of stocks to react to tomorrow. I'm super pumped about. Did NXP did their earnings get released here? Oh, NXPI. Yeah, they did. So it looks like NXP has their earnings. They're up here after hours as well. I know most of you here for Palantir, and we'll get back to that. But I wanted to just see what the reaction here was for NXPI. They came in $3.71. They beat that as well by 7 cents. The expectation there was at 364, so pretty decent move on that. Revenue of 3.42 billion. They beat that estimate by $20 million. That represents a 3% year over year growth there. Guidance for the first quarter, 3.02 to 3.2 million versus 3.02 to 3.2 billion versus the consensus of 3.16. So on the higher end of that guidance, good there. Non-GAAP earnings per share, 2.97 to 3.38 versus consensus of 316. So on the higher side of that as well. And this is what I'm talking about, right? Palantir missed guidance, and it's up 15%. NXPI actually had a great quarter and hasn't moved a whole lot. So welcome to earnings, folks. Welcome to earnings. It's been a day. Let's tune back into Palantir. Giving up a little bit. Got to the top of this expected move at around 1935. High of the after hours trading looks to be around 1926, but it's sitting up around 13%. Simon Property Group also had earnings today. I don't know if there's any movement on that. Nah, there's nothing there. Usually isn't for the REITs, but wanted to just double check. NXP also had a good day in general, so pretty good there. Checking back in with Palantir, and there it is. So if you guys didn't get the numbers on Palantir, they okay quarter for earnings. 8 cents actual versus the 8 cents that was expected. $608 million in revenue versus the 555 that was expected. I'm sorry, let me repeat. 608.35 beats the expectation by 5.5 million. Sorry. And so they beat on revenue. They came in line on earnings per share. The big thing here for me was the current quarter that they're reporting on. So Q1, they came in below expectations on guidance. Then for the entire year, they came in just in line on guidance as well. The only thing that stands out is that commercial revenue. 640 million is what they expected for 2024, representing a growth rate of at least 40%. And that's probably, if I had to guess, that's probably why the stock's been moving like this. But again, kind of a head scratcher as to why it's moving so much. Lily and Spotify going to hit, says Greg. Maganti says, thanks for your quick updates as always. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. This will tank tomorrow as today was bull day for chip stocks. So that FOMO got people excited, I guess. Yeah, it could have been. No way Palantir keeps these gains. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So yeah, if you want me to, we can zoom out here. So let's go to the weekly chart, shall we? There's your weekly chart. Last earnings. That was what, October? Actually, last earnings was November. Looks to be November 23rd was their last earnings. You can see this huge gap up, and it actually ended up running up for quite a few days, until about the end of November. Looks like the 21st was the first red day and just continued to bleed off. I don't know for sure. This kind of looks like it could have been dilution going into the end of the year. Palantir is still doing that. So that's certainly something to just keep an eye on. But it wasn't just a one-day runner. Last earnings, it did run for the next 2 weeks or so before finally falling back down to earth. But still sustaining this upward trend, right? So some interesting moves here for sure. All right. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow. This is great. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. I'll be back live at 3:45 p.m. Eastern tomorrow to react to some pretty big earnings as well. So we got Snap, Enphase, Ford, Chipotle, Fortinet, lots of other things to react to in the morning as well. Eli Lilly, Spotify. We got a huge week. We got PayPal, Disney, ARM, Wynn Resorts, Affirm, Pinterest, Cloudflare, ConocoPhillips, Pepsi. So much happening this week. Bill.com also on there, Expedia, Take-Two. So there is just a huge week of earnings. You're not going to want to miss it. This literally is the only channel that covers them the way that I do on YouTube. So not throwing my weight around. Just saying, it's just the facts. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon. I'm pumped. Hope you're pumped too. Have a great night, and catch you in the afternoon.